first of all, let me tell you something. Let me tell you that, as you saw when you arrived in the street in front of the theater, how many people were already here asking you to sign and so on. So you're really a legend in France. You are.
It's a big responsibility.
So you are a legend, and I think that you're part of this group of Americans that do extremely well in France, and sometimes a little bit maybe better than in the US. And I would put you in the same league with William Faulkner, Bill Styron, and Fred Wiseman. Would you agree with that?
I'll accept that.
Ok, donc il est d'accord. Tu acceptes. Donc, let's get back to the movie, and we'd love to have a few elements about the movie. Puzzle of a downfall child, which is actually a beautiful sentence, a beautiful group of words. But what does it exactly mean?
That's a long story.
Okay, let's go. How long do we have?
Well, the original writer, the first writer I had, was a Frenchman, and with the first screenplay, there were a number of elements that weren't in the final film. I enjoyed working with him at first, but then he didn't like the idea that I asked him for rewrites at one point. He didn't understand how this first-time director could ask him, because he was quite a popular writer at the time. But there was an abortion involved in the first screenplay, which wasn't in the final one. And I had somebody had told me a story once about how she used to have nightmares, and she used to get up at night and go to the window and open the window to catch a child that was falling. And I made an analogy of the abortion and the child falling for him. The final author was not happy with the title, but I liked, as you say, I liked the words and I liked the combination so much, and it was unusual enough that we went that way, and Carol, the final writer, eventually accepted that.
You kept the title.
Yeah.
The disconnection between. Now, is the writer Joan Didion? No.
No, Carol Eastman. Joan Didion did Panique.
Okay, I see.
It was she wrote in the name of Adrian Joyce. She did Monty Hellman's Shooting. She did 5 Easy Pieces, Bob Rafelson.
Sure.
And she's a wonderful writer, and I met her in L.A. Somebody I met just introduced me to the fact that she existed. I didn't know her, but I told him I was looking for a writer, and he said that he was working on a film with Richard Lester called Petulia. And he said that she wrote a fantastic screenplay, but he didn't really care for the style. And Lester's film I thought was very good. He had another writer, but he introduced me to this writer, and I just fell in love with her version of Petulia. And that started the drama.
That's how it started. So there's something, I'm going on with trying to portray you as we figure you out. To portray you as we figure you out from France. First of all, you have a career as a fashion photographer, and a very, very talented one, who's really putting a lot of emphasis on beauty. A very sophisticated picture, both in fashion, but also a photographer about the city, incredible poetic of the city. And after this career as a fashion photographer, you switch to becoming a movie director, with not a huge career, but a few, essential movies. So I think, is very atypical. I don't know of many careers of that sort. Do you want to comment on that?
I don't know of many careers like that either. I was lucky enough to have two careers and have a decent establishment in both. So, but the reason I wanted to do the film is because of what actually happened to many of the mannequins in those days. And in old days, I think it's even worse now because they start off when they're 17 and 18 to model today, and their careers are over when they're 21 and 22. And that's very difficult. They while they're having their career, they're taken all over the world, first class, best hotels and everything. Then at 22, 23, they're just dropped into the world, and not very nicely, because it's not that they can't still model. It's just that the corporation says, well, we've seen that face, let's just get rid of her. It's just...
I have been told that I should translate into French regularly. So I'm sorry that it's going to break a little conversation, but quickly into French. Donc je demande à Jerry, je lui dis qu'il est très original, qu'il fait partie de ces Américains qui sont davantage adorés en France qu'aux États-Unis, et qui fait partie de cette ligue dans laquelle je mets William Faulkner, William Styron, Fred Wiseman, et je lui demande s'il est d'accord, il me dit oui. Après ça, je lui demande, je lui dis qu'il a fait une carrière double, 20 ans comme photographe de mode et photographe avec énormément de talent, une grande poésie, et qu'il est passé au cinéma avec 4 énormes films, mais pas très nombreux. Et je lui dis que c'est assez rare, et il me dit qu'il est d'accord. Après ça, je demande qu'il me parle de lui comme photographe de mode, et il me dit quelque chose de très très beau, ce qu'il vient de me dire, c'est que finalement, dans la mode, on photographie ces filles qui sont très jeunes, entre 16 et 21 ans, dont la carrière s'arrête à 21 ou 22 ans, et qui ont vécu quelques années comme des stars en voyageant dans des avions première classe, et puis tout d'un coup ça s'arrête brutalement. Et que ça c'est très dur. Voilà, c'est là qu'on en était. D'accord ? Alors je continue et je traduis de temps en temps. Now, I think it's very interesting because what you point out is some kind of tragedy in the life of those top models. You are the center of attention, the focus. You earn a lot of money, you have power, and all of a sudden that's it, you disappear. And I'd like you to go on that.
But I think it was more critical in those days, back in the 60s, because they didn't earn the kind of money that they started to make in the 80s. The 80s they became superstars, and they got very big contracts. They were paid by the hour, and they made a nice money for that time, but not enough to be able to justify the life they were living. You know, while today same models retire and they have a very nice life if they were top models. But it happens many times to the ones that weren't top models. They were just working very hard, but their careers ended and there wasn't much that they could do.
Donc ce que dit Jerry, c'est que à l'époque, dans les années 70, les mannequins ne gagnaient pas autant que maintenant. Elles gagnent énormément d'argent et quelquefois elles peuvent vivre toute leur vieillesse là-dessus, mais même leur âge mûr, mais que maintenant elles gagnent des fortunes. Et qu'en plus, quand on n'était pas top modèle absolument dans les années 70, on avait une vie très dure après. If I may, I have the feeling that you have a sensitive spot to social problems, sociology, borderlines, broken people, fractures. Where does that come from? D'où ça vient, cette sensibilité?
This is all very frustrating for you, and it's what I experience watching this, because I can pick up.
Quand je vous vois,
I could pick up a word here and there, and I kind of knew what the story was, but it must be very frustrating for you not to be able to...
Ça doit être frustrant pour vous de ne pas comprendre ce que je dis.
Repeat the question.
So you feel for them.
The what?
You
Yeah.
feel for them.
Yeah.
Il a le sentiment un sentiment d'empathie avec vous, comme il avait avec les mannequins.
What
Pour
was
le
your
public
question?
qui parle pas l'anglais. I was asking you, where does this soft spot for fractured people, borderlines, underdogs?
I always have a simple answer. Being born and brought up in the Bronx.
J'ai vécu, je suis né, j'ai vécu dans le Bronx, voilà, c'est la réponse.
Because it was...
Describe to us a little bit where you come from.
Oh boy.
No, listen. We're here for the whole night. Come on.
I gotta pee, you know.
Okay. It depends what you do with the loo, the top of the loo.
I
You
see.
put it down or up?
Yeah.
Is there hope or not? Or
It depends on how badly I have to go. No, but the Bronx was where many of the immigrants came from Europe, and it was not a ghetto, but it was where they found their friends, so they all started there.
Ouais, c'est là que venaient les Juifs immigrés.
Coming from Europe, they look like most everybody else. The problem with the Bronx is that after the Germans and the Irish and the Italians came to America, it started to be much more of a African American community and a Latin community, and they can't assimilate as easily as white people can. So, but all my schoolmates and my friends were so mixed, and they were upper class, middle class, lower class. It was a place that they would go because they felt comfortable. And I'm sure that exists in most countries. So.
L'immigration des Européens, les Juifs allemands, les Irlandais, les Italiens, les Russes, ils se sont assimilés, ils étaient européens. Et puis après, il y a eu les African Americans, les Noirs. Et là, c'était plus dur pour eux de s'intégrer. Mais j'ai toujours vécu parmi des gens différents. C'était extrêmement mélangé. Et c'est de là que vient ma sensibilité à tout ça. Did I catch it?
No, because I think that's basically what the Bronx was. And when you're living with people like that and you see the problems that people have, it just becomes part of you. It's not something...
But you never studied sociology also?
No.
Okay.
No.
Okay. All right. So, did you become very friendly with most of the models you shot, or is it? I don't know why you're laughing.
I don't know what she's asking, but well, no.
I want you to talk about Anne Saint-Marie.
Oh, Anne Saint-Marie.
But I mean, is it? Did you talk? Did you become friendly with many of them, or only her?
Well, I employed a lot of them, and you have to be friendly. You have to have a rapport between your camera and the model. It's a cliche, but there is a love affair that goes on in that situation.
Quand on photographie un mannequin, il faut qu'il y ait une relation. Il faut qu'on parle. C'est un cliché, mais on doit avoir un coup de foudre.
I think. I always thought my mother was beautiful, and so I liked beautiful women, and I was lucky enough to find a career that involved beautiful women. So, but yes, we were very friendly.
So tell us about Anne Saint-Marie, the specific relationship.
Well, as I say, I'm frustrated because I don't know how much of the story you get from what was performed here. I enjoyed watching them. I was very touched by it and very honored by it.
J'ai beaucoup aimé la pièce. J'ai été honorée de la voir. J'ai été très touchée. Je ne sais pas ce que vous connaissez du film, mais moi j'ai beaucoup aimé la pièce.
But I always say the story is based on truth. It's not the truth. I interviewed Anne Saint-Marie at one point when I wanted to do this film. I have about 3.5 hours of tape of her, and she was quite a character. She was married. She had 2 children at the time that I knew her, but I worked for a very popular, good photographer when I started, and she was one of his models. She worked for him, and that's where I met her. And she saw that I was starting, she saw that I was nice or whatever, and she offered to work for me, you know, for nothing, to help me along, to get my book going.
Oui, oui ce que vous avez vu, et mon film, c'est basé sur la réalité. C'est pas une histoire vraie, mais c'est basé sur une histoire vraie. Et donc il y avait cette femme qui s'appelait Anne Sainte-Marie, qui était mariée, qui avait 2 enfants, et qui m'a offert de parler avec moi pour mon histoire.
And evidently she liked some of the photographs that I took, because she did help me out a lot. And I would say that with people like she and maybe Nicholson, maybe Susie Parker, by working for me, allowed me to get into Vogue. It was, I think, 6 months after I had a studio, I was working for Vogue.
Très vite, après 6 mois après avoir commencé comme photographe de mode, je travaillais pour Vogue.
But Anne I was very close to, and Anne went through this breakdown that I don't know if you see it in the play, but sure. She goes through a breakdown, and her husband wasn't very sympathetic, or they, as a couple, they probably had difficulties, but I saw that she was really in trouble, and I helped her out. I made sure that she got taken care of, and my assistant would help her.
Donc Anne Sainte-Marie, elle m'a aidé à commencer mon métier de photographe de mode, et puis à un moment elle a eu une dépression nerveuse. Je ne sais pas si on voit vraiment la dépression nerveuse ici dans la pièce, mais elle a eu une dépression nerveuse, et elle avait déjà des problèmes de couple avec son mari, et mon assistant et moi on a essayé de l'aider, de la soutenir à ce moment-là.
But in my mind, she was just brilliant. I just loved working with her. And that series of photographs that you saw here, they were all her, and done by different photographers. And she just had a certain feeling, you know. And I would, when I had a sitting, I would look for the worst clothes, and I put them aside, and I give them to her, because I know she was going to make them look good.
Dans la pièce, on voit les flashbacks, c'est elle prise par différents photographes, mais c'est elle partout. Elle était intelligente, très intelligente, et quand on faisait des séances ensemble, je prenais les vêtements les plus moches, parce que je savais que sur elle, ils seraient splendides. Yeah. By the way, this is very interesting, the way that you portray a fractured personality, an abused woman, a fragile woman in the movie. And on theater, it's difficult to use the flashback the same way you do in the movie. Do you want to expand on that?
Well, as I said, it was very frustrating for me to watch, because I'd pick up a word here and there, and then I'd understand what part of the story we were at. But the process of writing it was very interesting for me. When I met Carol, and I liked her immediately. And the producer I was working with was working in India, Ismail Merchant, and he wanted to do the film very badly. And I told him I had found a writer that I wanted to make a deal with, and started moving on. And when we did, I introduced her to Faye Dunaway, and I thought Carol would be so up in the stars about meeting a famous actress and so on and so forth. And I found out later on she couldn't care less. I mean, she was just doing her work. She was writing all the time, and she was being very successful with a certain element of Hollywood: Jack Nicholson, Monty Hellman, Bob Rafelson. And and I kept calling her from New York saying, "Oh, don't worry, Carol, I haven't forgotten about you." And she said, "Oh, okay," you know, just like that. And I said, "Oh, fine." And Ismail wasn't coming back from India, and I decided that I had to get a new producer. So I called him, and I told him that, and he was not very happy. But I went out to California, and I called Carol, and I asked her to come up and see me, because I really wanted to move forward with the film. And she arrived at the house I had rented, and she said, "Oh, I can't stay too long because a friend of mine is in the car and she's got a terrible toothache." And I figured, she's making her escape already before we get started.
Finish the sentence at least, because it...
I finished the sentence, I'll go on.
So that's it. Was it a toothache?
No, there's more of a story. I finished the sentence, but there's more story. What, the whole story?
But the toothache or not? Was it a toothache, a real toothache?
No, she didn't have a toothache. But at any rate, I had, as I mentioned, I had 3.5 hours of tape. And I said, and she said she couldn't stay. I said, but I really wanted you to hear this tape. Can you listen to some of it? And she says, well, I'll listen to 10 minutes of it, but I've got to take my friend to the dentist. I said, okay, and I put the tape on, and she sat there for 3.5 hours and listened to the whole tape.
Wow, that's...
The tape is is really the story. I mean, she just got such ideas from it.
Quand l'écrivain est venu pour faire le film, donc Jerry a d'abord dit qu'il était frustré ici parce que je lui demandais ce qu'il pensait du flashback, la fonction du flashback dans le film et au théâtre. Il dit que c'était frustrant ici parce qu'il ne comprenait pas la langue. Il pouvait piquer comprendre un mot ici et là. Mais il dit, quand j'ai fait le film, j'avais vraiment un problème parce que l'écrivain devait venir chez moi et je voulais lui faire écouter ces bandes magnétiques où j'avais enregistré Anne Sainte-Marie. Et alors, l'écrivain arrive et puis elle me dit, je ne peux pas vraiment monter chez toi parce que j'ai une amie qui a une rage de dents. Et dans la voiture, alors il était embêté. Finalement, elle est montée, elle dit, je peux rester 5 minutes. Et puis elle est restée 3h30. Voilà. Donc ça veut dire que elle a vraiment accroché à... tell us more about those tapes. Did you... 3.5 hours is a lot.
Mm-hmm.
Did you transcribe everything?
No, I think eventually we did, yes. But she just listened to the tape. And Anne had a certain way of speaking, which if you see the film, you see Faye picked up on the way, and she got a way of doing malaprops and things like that. Yes. But the thing is, I really lucked out with the film because I'm a first-time director wanting to make a film. But I had become friendly with Faye Dunaway because she, when she was doing her first film, I went down to Florida to photograph her for Esquire magazine. And when she went on to do 2 more films. The second one was Bonnie and Clyde, so by the time she came back to New York, she was breaking out as a big star. And her press people said, well, why don't you call Schatzberg and see if we'll do some more photographs? And she called, and I said, I think it's a great idea, why don't we talk about it? And we had a lunch, and we started to photograph, and we became friends. And one night at dinner, she asked me what else I told her I was involved in the film. She said, oh, tell me about the film. And when I told her about the film, she just said, oh, I love that. I love that. And, she was very passionate about it. And it wasn't in my mind. I was going to use an older actress and a younger actress to play the part. And but once she said she was interested, I felt that she could do both parts, young and old.
Wonderful. Alors l'histoire, c'est que donc Jerry, je vais donc faire des photos avec Faye Dunaway pour le magazine Esquire en Floride. Et puis elle rentre et après elle fait un film incroyable qui est Bonnie and Clyde, qui la propulse comme star, quoi. Et c'est après qu'elle revient me voir, elle veut qu'on fasse d'autres photos, on fait des photos, on devient copains. Et elle me demande ce que je suis en train de faire. Je dis voilà, moi je suis en train de préparer mon premier film. Alors elle dit sur quoi? Et je lui raconte, voilà, c'est l'histoire d'un mannequin qui a été très très célèbre et qui s'isole et a une immense dépression. Et alors elle dit je suis passionnée, je veux absolument faire ce film avec toi. So then, once
Faye was able to listen to the tapes also, and Faye met Anne. I mean, a lot of great advantages. They met each other, and they got along very well. And
they were the same age now.
no,
Anne was how much older?
Anne was, I would say she was about 40 something, and Faye was 26, I think.
Ok, donc Anne Sainte-Marie avait 45 ans à peu près, et Faye avait 25. Mais une des choses les plus intéressantes, c'est que je me suis rendu compte que Faye, il aurait fallu qu'il y ait 2 actrices pour jouer le rôle de la jeune femme, et puis elle vieillissante. Mais en fait, elle était tellement douée, Faye Dunaway, qu'elle a pu jouer les 2 rôles. Elle-même jeune et elle-même plus âgée. Mais les 2 femmes se sont rencontrées, elles se sont beaucoup aimées, elles se sont beaucoup vues, elles ont beaucoup parlé. So there's a lot of work, of preparation, of you know,
Making film?
Yeah, no. I mean, also as a fashion photographer, there's a real deep involvement in the interaction before you actually shoot or before you actually start the movie.
Well, it actually took me 4 years to get the film on.
Wow. Il a fallu 4 ans avant que je commence à démarrer sur le film.
And it took Carol 10 months to write it.
Et 10 mois pour l'écrire.
And we had we made a deal with Warner Brothers, and I hired another writer after The Frenchman, and he wrote a terrible script. I wouldn't even show it to Warner Brothers, so that was the end of that deal. My agent made a deal with Paramount and with Robert Evans, and I think he thought he was going to get blow up. My film is not blow up.
No, it's not.
So when he read the script, he couldn't understand it, which is what happened to the film with the Americans when it came out, because they couldn't understand it. They understand it now. All the young people see the film and they love the film. The critics couldn't understand the
40
film.
years later. No, 60 years later.
Now?
No,
40 years later.
Yeah, exactly. So, mon agent a porté le projet à Paramount. Ils ont cru que c'était blow up. Et le film est sorti. Les gens n'ont pas compris, les Américains n'ont pas compris le film. Et c'est maintenant, 40 ans plus tard, que les Américains comprennent ce film.
So Robert Evans didn't want to do the film, and my agents didn't know what to do at that time. And they said they had one more choice. They knew that Paul Newman and his wife Joanne Woodward had a deal with Universal, and if they knew that if each of them did a film, they could produce a film that they wanted to produce. So we sent it to them, and they loved it. And Joanne had a roommate when she was younger that went through the same experience.
Ah, yeah.
So she knew all about that.
C'est grâce à Paul Newman et Joanne Woodward que le film a marché, parce qu'ils ont compris. Et que Joanne, elle avait une copine qui a vécu exactement la même expérience que Anne Sainte-Marie. Donc elle a pigé le truc tout de suite. C'est grâce à eux qu'on a fait le film. Why do you think the Americans didn't get it in the 70s?
Well, I don't think it's a film that they saw the week before, and you know, when something new comes out, you can't always accept it right away. You have to see a little bit more about it to make sure you don't make a mistake or something. I don't know, but
Because
you just have to get 1 or 2 bad reviews, and you're in big trouble.
Aux États-Unis, c'est ça. Ça ressemble pas au film qu'on voit. Il y a 1 ou 2 mauvaises critiques et hop, il est viré. Donc, he's not in the grain, right? It was not in the grain.
No, and it was very interesting because, and this is my theory and certainly, there were 2 women critics that really didn't like it, and really panned the writer more than they panned the film, but they really panned the writer, and I think it was more jealousy than it was critics, you know.
Sure. Alors le truc incroyable, c'est que c'était 2 critiques femmes qui n'ont pas du tout aimé le film, mais surtout pas le script du film. Et je pense que c'était de la jalousie. La jalousie pour une jeune femme belle, etc. Et c'est absurde, en fait, cette histoire.
But actually the film was accepted by San Francisco Film Festival.
Oui.
And
By the way, Tom Lully says hello.
oh, thank you. And it was shown there. There was a I don't know. You probably know I've heard the name of Pierre Etienne.
Yeah.
So Pierre was he was always looking for films for Cannes, and they traveled all around the world. And he was there, and he saw the program, and he saw a film by a fashion photographer, and he said, "Oh, I don't want to see a bullshit film by a fashion photographer."
Donc le film était accepté au Festival de San Francisco, et puis Pierre Lucien pour le Festival de Cannes en entend parler, il dit ah oui, un film d'un photographe de mode, je ne veux pas avoir cette merde de film par un photographe de mode, ça va être merdique.
So the day of the screening, he just, luckily for me, just had nothing to do at that time. He said, "Okay, I'll watch 10 minutes of it."
Mais je regarderai 10 minutes du film. Et alors?
And he fell in love with the film, immediately called Universal and told them he wanted to represent the film in France.
Wow.
Of course, they weren't getting big responses in America, so they would have gone for anybody.
Il est tombé fou du film au bout des 10 premières minutes et il a dit je le représente en France. No, what I think is incredible is it begins like an Andrew Wyeth picture.
Yeah.
Or,
Did you read that or something?
Me? No.
Oh, because that's what I showed. That's what I showed my cameraman when we started to work.
Excuse me. No, I'm an art critic.
Oh.
So I'm sorry. Thank you for no. And it's really basically the.
But I had mentioned it before in an interview, so I thought maybe you had.
No, I didn't mean it. It's the framing is completely white, completely, and of course the framing starts and the tapes start and the voices start and you see nobody, so it's puzzling. So it doesn't start. It puts you in an awkward feeling.
Yeah.
You know donc j'explique que le fait d'attendre un film typique d'un photographe de mode et de pas voir le film typique d'un photographe de mode, ça m'étonne pas, parce que je pense que le film, il commence par une prise de vue qui ressemble à un tableau de Andrew Wyeth, qui est un peintre américain du milieu du XXe et qui fait des grands cadrages comme ça de scènes rurales où la maison est un peu off-frame, en dehors, et que ce film commence aussi de manière très inattendue, très surprenante, où on voit donc voilà une maison une maison en bois sur le bord d'une plage dans les dunes, et on entend des voix, on voit un magnétophone, mais on ne voit pas de personnage, et ça c'est très déroutant. Enfin, donc voilà, et il me dit tu as lu ça quelque part? Je dis non, j'ai pas lu ça quelque part, je connais Andrew Wyeth, voilà.
But also when you're dealing with something that has to do with the mind and sanity of people, we all want to think we're sane, so we can't relate to it quite the same way, and there was something wrong. I mean, she just could not see the reality of life, and that may be something that stopped the critics or people from wanting to see it.
Sure. Et ça a aussi à voir avec un problème de psychopathologie ou la santé mentale. Quelquefois ça peut déranger les gens quand on parle de santé mentale. I think that's something incredible about the way you build the movie, because you fractured time with the flashbacks, the changes, the fact that she doesn't know where she's right or wrong, whether she was in love with him or not, whether she went to bed with him or not. And you know what? In this respect, you behave as Faulkner in The Sound and the Fury, on which Sartre wrote, why did Faulkner tear up time into pieces? So that's what you're doing. And Faulkner was influenced by Picasso's early Cubism.
But and I must say, if you hear the tape, you see that, and that's what attracted Carol to the screenplay, because the tape is really fractured. The tape is, when she in the film, which is though she wants her cat, and she gets the cat, and she starts speaking. Yeah, the president. And she starts speaking, and she starts.
Mr. Trump.
Vive la France. and and she starts speaking Chinese to the cat, and he says, "You speak Chinese, you know," and on the tapes, she talks about her father speaking Chinese, you know, and Carol just picked up things like that, and she...
Wonderful.
And
Wonderful.
Anne was really, the time I taped her, had already gone through her breakdown.
Mhm.
So she was coming out of it, so a lot of it was still...
Incredible. Oui, très intéressant. En fait, donc je lui dis que le temps dans son film, il est fracturé, il est en morceaux, il est en pièces, comme dans le roman bouleversant de Faulkner qui est le bruit et la fureur. Et dans le bruit et la fureur, le récit est fait par 4 personnages différents à des moments différents du temps et pas dans la chronologie. Et donc c'est un texte sur lequel Sartre a écrit un article où il dit pourquoi Faulkner a-t-il déchiré le temps en morceaux et qu'il a mélangé les morceaux. Et je dis aussi que Faulkner était inspiré de Picasso et du Picasso cubiste, du premier cubisme. Donc ce que me dit Jerry répond, en fait il faut écouter les tapes. Et Carole, l'écrivain, donc là, qui a fait le script, dans les tapes, dans les bandes magnétiques, elle a entendu ces fractures dans la voix de Anne Sainte-Marie, qui avait déjà eu sa grande dépression et qui parlait chinois à son chien qui s'appelait le président, donc c'est pour ça que j'ai fait l'astuce sur Trump. Ah oui, pardon, oui. Et en fait, donc voilà, donc ces fractures, elles proviennent des bandes même et de la voix même de Anne Sainte-Marie qui ont été reprises dans le script et que lui a reprise.
You look at me as if you think I understand you.
I hope so. I think you might.
No, I don't.
I mean, I can
A word here.
convince you into that.
But,
Il m'a dit, tu me regardes comme si je comprenais ce que tu dis. Je lui dis, ouais, je suis sûr que tu comprends.
But as a creative experience, for me, it was really probably the best one I ever had. You know, and I've been doing this for 40, 50 years now. But Carol and I used to, I mean, she'd write pieces and I'd criticize it. And I'd go out to California and we'd have 6-hour dinners just talking about the script and things. And sometimes I'd tell her why I didn't like something, and she'd say, "Oh yeah, that's right." She'd shake her head, and she'd go away and not do anything that I said, but she'd write something even better.
Voilà, donc on a beaucoup travaillé ensemble. Elle était en Californie, moi j'étais à New York, j'allais la voir. Quand j'aimais pas ce qu'elle avait fait, elle le refaisait. En général, c'était bien mieux. Et puis on avait des dîners qui pouvaient durer 6 heures. Enfin, c'était très chouette. Yeah, so you have a very intense relationship with people you work with.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I think it's so. Do you want to touch on Trump? No. I mean, no. Listen. We're living. Il s'exprime, il veut.
I apologize for him. That's all I can do.
Je vous demande de m'excuser. You apologize for what?
For him.
Voilà, je vous demande d'excuser Trump. How does it feel being an American these days? Do you think it's going to last
Well, you
long?
know, I live in New York,
J'habite
and
New
it's
York.
very difficult to find somebody that thinks anything positive about him. So
And New
I'm
York, il y a
in a
personne qui
good,
pense
I'm in a
quelque
good environment, but
Je suis.
I just don't understand the other people around the rest of the country.
But you have also California with Jerry Brown.
Yeah, but I mean,
They're pretty much the same.
the two
Yeah.
sides.
Yeah.
But I'm not out in California.
To
I'm not
islands.
a big fan of California.
I know.
so-
I already also picture you. I would say that a true New Yorker, right?
Yeah.
You don't belong to the Hollywood guys. do
Yeah,
you?
but there are a lot of
Good
film
people.
directors that stay in New York. I mean, Sidney Lumet stayed in New York. Woody Allen stays in New York. You know, we have our own community there too. But my agent, when I started to make films, said, "You got to go live in California." I said, "What for?" He said, "Well, that's where it is." I said, "Yeah, but where am I going to walk?"
Mon agent m'a dit au début, il me disait, mais il faut que tu ailles vivre en Californie, c'est là qu'on fait le cinéma. Alors j'ai dit, mais moi je suis de New York. Alors il me dit, mais vas-y. Mais je dis, mais où je vais pouvoir marcher en Californie? Dans quelle rue je vais pouvoir marcher? Ouais. Okay, so let's go on. Let's move on. Would you like to expand on the play that you just saw, on the adaptation?
That's very difficult. That's the frustration, because I can pick up a word here and there. I certainly understood Greta Garbo, and
J'ai entendu Greta Garbo, j'ai compris.
but I don't think that was in my film. I think that's an invention from here. But and I understand what it goes. I knew when he went into the toilet what was going to happen, but
Yeah.
I didn't understand the
That's-
words. But I know it from the film. I've seen it once or twice in the film. But it's difficult. It's very frustrating.
Sure.
But I'm really very honored that it's being done. I think it's just a wonderful.
C'est un grand honneur que la pièce ait été faite.
And I think the two actors were just brilliant.
Les acteurs étaient brillants. C'est très frustrant d'avoir pu comprendre Greta Garbo. L'histoire des toilettes, des chiottes, là aussi j'ai compris. Mais voilà. No, I'd like to analyze a little bit how you went from puzzle to panic and to Scarecrow. Because first of all, you have a milieu which is that of the fashion models, fashion business, which is a real business where they make money. Then you have Panic, which is about drug addicts. And then you have these two guys, Scarecrow, these two guys.
But all of them are really marginal people.
Voilà.
So that's part of
That's the red line.
That's part of what keeps me there. But the first three films were maybe a miracle that they happened the way they happened, because
So quickly, so fast, one after the other.
I had just finished Puzzle, and the lab had scratched the last 6 minutes of my negative.
No.
The screw came loose.
No.
And so I was very upset about that. My agent had seen the film, and she loved it. And they were looking for a director for Panic at Needle Park, so they sent me the script, and I read the script very quickly, and I just didn't want to get into a drug film. I had too many friends that died from drugs, and I just didn't think that's where I wanted to be. So I turned the film down, and I went up to my manager's office, and he said, there's a good script out there, and I said, what's it called? And he told me Panic at Needle Park. I said, I think I turned that down. It's a long story on it.
No, it's okay, I can handle that.
So he said, well, Al is interested. Now, I had seen Al on the stage 4 years before I ever thought of making a film. And I thought he was just brilliant. And now he was managing Al, so he said, Al is interested. I said, wow. And I went back, I reread the script, and there was a whole different story now.
Okay, I'll translate that. So, en fait, l'histoire, c'est que quand ils ont fini Puzzle of a Downfall Child, le laboratoire avait égratigné le film à la fin, et c'était vraiment une marque qu'on voyait beaucoup. Alors, un peu par gentillesse, ils m'ont dit, voilà, tiens, il y a le script de ce qu'on est en train de préparer maintenant, qui s'appelle Panique à Needle Park. Et j'ai regardé ce scénario, c'était un scénario sur des drogués. Tout le monde autour de moi était drogué, moi je suis pas, mais beaucoup. Et j'ai commencé à le regarder, puis j'ai pas aimé, je leur ai rendu. Et puis un peu plus tard, ils m'ont dit, mais c'est Al Pacino qui va être l'acteur principal. Alors, regarde à nouveau le script. Et c'est vrai que Al Pacino est un type extraordinaire, mais il n'était pas encore connu. J'ai relu le script et j'ai dit, oui, je le fais absolument. Et ça s'est fait très très vite en fait. So that's you produce it. I mean, within a year of Puzzle, it's done, right? Yeah. And did you enjoy working with him?
Oh yeah. Well, he hadn't done any films before, so he wasn't a movie star. He was a theater star, and we spent a lot of time together, just going around to doing research, and he and Kitty and I.
How long did you spend researching with him, trying to get into the media, watching,
probably
observing?
A month, 2 months, just
Un mois,
going
deux
to
mois,
hospitals, going to different places where they hung out, and just talking.
On a fait de l'observation participante avec les drogués, parler avec eux, aller dans les hôpitaux, comprendre un peu leur vie, comprendre leur mentalité.
But when I found out that Al was interested, I went back to the producers and I told them how stupid I was, and they agreed with me. But they it was still not gone, so we were able to get it together. But then after Panique, one day a script came to my home, and I knew the name and everything because Al was talking to me about this film that he was doing called Scarecrow, and I thought possibly, and we had the same agent, so I thought possibly he asked our agent to send it to me so we could talk about character, and he could, Al loves to probe through everything. And I read it and I liked it, but and I called my agent. I asked him if Al had sent it. He says, "Well, Al asked for it to be sent, but do you like it?" And I told him yes. He says, "Okay, leave it with me." And then I found out that both Hackman and Al, there was another director assigned to it, and they didn't like him. They didn't get along with him. And he was a good director, but there was something in his character that just made them
Reject
and nervous and whatever. So, and I found that out, and so now I had to start thinking of the film and what I would like to do with it and all that. And Al and I were walking in the street one day, and both of us started to feel very guilty about the director and all that. And so we called, and Al had already done The Godfather now, so he was an entity. But we called our agent and told him we just feel that maybe we shouldn't do that. And the agent got really furious with us and started screaming at us, "Do you like it?" And we said, "Yeah, we like it, but you just leave it to me because they're agents. They're mini Donald Trumps." But so he made a deal with the director and
Oui, c'est une histoire très très intéressante. Pour le troisième film, Scarecrow, qui se passe dans un camion où il y a deux types qui vont mettre en place une station-service pour laver les voitures, dont un a fait 6 ans de tôle déjà, etc. C'est Al Pacino qui avait le scénario et qui devait faire le rôle principal. Or, c'était juste après qu'il ait fait Le Parrain. Et Le Parrain, c'était un très très grand succès. Donc c'est la même chose qu'avec Faye Dunaway. Il rencontre Jerry quand ils sont pas très célèbres, et puis entre-temps, quelque chose se passe. Et alors, en fait, il y avait déjà un réalisateur qui devait faire ce film. Mais Al Pacino n'aimait pas du tout ce réalisateur, ça ne se passait pas bien ensemble avec lui. Donc il donne le script à Jerry, qui le lit et qui le trouve merveilleux, et il se rend compte que c'est vraiment avec lui qu'ils veulent faire. Donc Al Pacino et Jerry sont très très embêtés vis-à-vis de l'agent, parce que l'agent avait déjà payé un autre réalisateur pour s'engager, qui était déjà engagé. Donc ils se disent comment on va faire pour se débarrasser de ce bonhomme, et ils ont laissé le boulot à l'agent, mais comme il me dit, les agents, il y a plusieurs Trump à la fois dans un seul agent, et l'agent a donné de l'argent à l'autre réalisateur qui était pressenti, ils l'ont évacué et ils ont pu faire le film ensemble. Voilà. C'est comme ça que ça s'est fait. And I think that the conversation between the lion and the other one is extraordinary.
No.
Oh, I would love you to give some samples, some elements. Why do you think that this dialogue and making people laugh is I mean the whole story of making people laugh rather than fight, I think that it could be a philosophy of life today.
Well, but I think people like humor, and if you have something serious to say, it's better to do it with humor.
Mm-hmm.
It always is. You can't always find the humor because some stories are just too tragic. I'm working on one now that is too tragic. You don't want to see it.
What are you working on?
Well, I'm not going to tell you the story, but there's 2 suicides. There's one accident where a child gets killed. It's tough.
That's it?
It's difficult. That's all I'm going to tell.
Alors, il dit qu'en fait, oui, dans le dialogue entre...
If I tell you the whole thing, you may not want to go. That's
go
what you
ahead.
have.
Go ahead.
No, I'm not going to.
Okay, so il dit que dans le dialogue entre les deux, dans Scarecrow, ce qui est très très beau, c'est que toute la philosophie de ce dialogue, c'est que Il faut arriver à faire rire les gens pour arriver à tirer ce qu'il y a de meilleur en eux. Et alors il dit en ce moment, je suis en train de travailler sur un autre film qui est assez terrible. Il y a 2 suicides, la mort d'un enfant, et c'est assez dur. Voilà. Mais il ne veut pas en dire plus. À moins que vous assistiez. I said he doesn't want to say more unless you insist. But you might insist.
Won't help. Won't help.
Ça ne va pas aider. Ça va pas aider. Oui?
Peut-être qu'on pourrait conclure.
Des questions, oui.
Voilà, des questions.
Okay, so we'd like to conclude. I'm supposed to conclude. So I just want to, and then we're going to ask for questions. I just want to add that for me, everything about you is about crossing borders, transgressing, linking fashion photography and writers of the kind of Joan Didion. That you are altogether both a true sociologist and a poet of the 60s, Andy Warhol and Frank O'Hara. That you're both an observer of cities and of rural America, a Faulkner and a Walker Evans, a Baudelaire and a Jean-Paul Sartre. Do you agree with that? It's my point to you.
I always like intellectuals to decide what I am, because I would never say that.
Am I an intellectual?
Well, I would think so, yes.
What?
Yes.
I mean, is it a critic?
And I prefer for you to decide what it is, because I would never decide. You know, I just do it.
Ok, il dit les intellectuels. J'aime bien les intellectuels parce qu'ils me disent toujours ce que je suis. Et voilà. Donc je crois qu'il est d'accord. Ok, now, est-ce que vous avez des questions? Voilà. Are you taking questions?
I think we have to go soon, but we can take one or
Ouais.
two. Yeah.
Alors, une ou deux
Yeah.
questions. Tu veux le micro?
Hello, sir. I'd like you to talk a bit about your work with Christopher Reeve in one of your movies, which is not very well known, much well known in France, but not in America, I guess.
Mm-hmm.
I'd like to know why you chose him.
He
And,
chose me.
C'est lui qui m'a choisi.
And it was a Canon production, if I'm not wrong.
Huh?
It was produced by Canon, if I'm not wrong.
Yeah, Cannon was the producer.
Yes. And
And
how
he-
did you
he-
work with them?
Huh?
How did you work with Canon? Because they were special, as you know.
Very, very difficult, but they made some interesting films in spite of it. But no, Chris had to deal with them that if he did Superman 4, then he could produce a film that he wanted to produce. And he had read this screenplay, and they sent it to me, and I liked it, and I said, I would like to do it. And then he did Superman 4, which was a total disaster. And Canon kept saying, "This is the best film we've ever made," and they wouldn't do any advertising. They wouldn't do anything with it. You know, that's why it probably isn't well known, because it is. I mean, it discovered what's his name? I'll think of it in a minute. But he's so famous now that I can't remember his name. Morgan Freeman. Yeah, it was Morgan Freeman's. Well, it wasn't his first. He had a 3-minute role in Brubaker, but this is his first major role, and he is brilliant in it. To Chris's, Chris was a little unhappy with that, but we straightened that all out.
Alors la question c'est, vous êtes photographe et quel est le rapport de la photographe avec son directeur de la photo? Est-ce qu'il n'y a pas un problème?
It's very close, you know. A director of photography is basically a lighting cameraman. Then you've got an operator who actually works the camera. So you've got a number of people that you have to go through to get what you want. But if I knew that I didn't know the language of acting, so I wanted to make sure that I had a very good cameraman that I could talk to, and if I talked to him about certain kind of lighting or certain equipment, he would, if I didn't know it, he would explain it to me, because I hadn't made any films. But so I worked, I haven't worked with many cinematographers, maybe 3 that did most of my films, and they were all great, and it allowed me the freedom to learn about the acting and spend a lot of time with the actors. But photography is photography. We have a few different things in fashion But that's easy, and if he didn't know what I was talking about in the fashion, I'd explain it to him, and he knew it right away.
Je voudrais poser une question parce que je suis jeune, je travaille dans le cinéma et en fait je voulais savoir pourquoi la pièce de théâtre avait été créée et je trouve que c'est une très bonne initiative parce que ça nous permet de connaître justement le travail de M. Jerry et du théâtre et des comédiens et quels étaient les liens en fait qui avaient été travaillés entre le film et les pièces de théâtre.
The first reason is that I fell in love with the movie. It sort of is one of my favorite movies of all times because of the way it's shot, because of the story, because of the exploration of the mind of that broken woman, and so I got completely involved in the movie, and I thought it's a good thing to make it a play because after all it's a huis clos. It's really a relationship between two characters in a closed environment, which is this little house by the sea.
No exit.
No exit, and two characters. But then came, of course, the difficulty. Difficulty was that in the movie there are 32 characters. So I had to reduce that to 2. And the second thing was the flashbacks, because of course on stage time evolves linearly and there are no flashbacks. So I just left 2 flashbacks and our stage director Serge d'Angleterre is sitting over there, I think, and he decided to make these flashbacks into short movies. It's an homage to the movie where the play comes from, and it's interesting because it's shot also in black and white, so it sort of shows a little bit that it's a flashback, and that was the main difficulty. So every other flashback is turned into dialogues in the play. So this is why she talks about characters that are actually there in the movie, of course. So it's like an orchestral reduction in music.
But Elisabeth, there's also a clin d'œil with the movie in your flashbacks, right?
Yes.
So it links the play to the movie, right? The
Yes. Yeah, exactly.
Which is very interesting.
And that's the choice of Serge d'Angleterre,
Absolutely.
stage director,
The shots
who
of
also made the movie. It's time to thank a lot Jerry and Annie.